Back at it here on Kansas Sports Chatter as we bring in our next guest, to which we are, almost making that transition now over to the spring sports as we will bring in a Josh Regan. He's the head coach of the Fort Scott baseball team. Hey, Coach, appreciate you coming on the show. For you, like this time of the year, like what are you getting ready for? Obviously, getting ready for baseball, but like what things are you kind of concentrating to get ready for the season?
Yeah, so it's my favorite time of the year. I told a buddy of mine last week that's a coach also, like every year I'm so blessed that every single year I'm more and more excited for the baseball season to start. I just love doing it more and more. And, I guess when that's not the case anymore, I'll know when it's time to get out. But that's a huge blessing. And I'm same way this year, super excited about our team. We got a huge challenge. We obviously won the 4A state championship last year in Kansas. And so we're kind of the hunted instead of the hunters, I guess, in some regards. Although, at the same time, I think a lot of people expect us to take a step back because of the tremendous senior class that we lost, and rightfully so. I get it. So a lot of times, it's that balance of like seasons when there's really, really high expectations, which was what it was like last year. Everyone knew we were good enough to go do damage and maybe win the whole thing. And then seasons like this year where it's like only the people in our clubhouse expected to necessarily do great things, right? And everyone else kind of expects us to, again, maybe take a step back. So it can be really fun when the expectations are lower because it's almost like you're playing with house money. It frees our players up. It frees everyone up just to go get after it. And it's like, we just let the chips fall where they may. And it's almost like from the extraneous view, whatever's a bonus this year. Although for us, it's always, our goals are always set on the very highest things.
Yeah, we'll talk about those standards at Fort Scott here in just a bit, but like how much are you tinkering with like your baseball lineups, even during like the off season, kind of the couple months before the season even starts? How much are you kind of messing around with it?
Oh, absolutely. And I tell the guys this every year going into the season, all 9 spots are up for grabs. And our pitching rotation, same thing. But, based on the track record of the players we bring back and stuff, you have an idea of who's going to be in the lineup. There's, X number of guys have proven that they're varsity players and are that caliber. And so then it's like, okay, which pieces, first of all, how do they fit? And then which pieces do we have available? And who's the cool thing, one of the things that's the most fun is who's going to step up, because every year there are guys that step up that are just kind of, you may hope they do, but you never really know. So that's a lot of fun too. And so, yeah, Coach Messer and I, Josh Messer, been my assistant for 11 years. And my other 2 assistants, we added this year, actually, Jake DeRosset and Clayton Collins are, home run hires 100%, but they're brand new coming back and coaching. Jake played for us before, back in, I think it was 2013, 2014. So anyway, it's Coach Messer and I have done this together for a long time. So we've had a lot of discussions about, hey, what's our pseudo depth chart look like going into the season? Who do we expect, to be our best arms? And then kind of like, man, who are we hoping, really steps up, and then just, again, there's those guys too that sometimes come out of the blue. So that's probably the most fun about it, honestly, is starting a new season. You got a whole new group of guys. It's a completely different feel. You got to push completely different buttons. You got different leaders. A lot of the time, at least, the leadership changes, I guess I should say. And so for me, that's probably the thing that I relish and enjoy the most is building a team, from day one. That's just, to me, it's a blast.
You mentioned Coach Messer. How much fun is that? Just, a couple baseball guys, being able to do that for 11 years. Because a lot of times, especially at the high school ranks, Coach, you don't get that. Might get 3 or 4 years and they move on, or something happens. They move with their family. But to be with each other, for 11 years, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of people are aware, and a lot of people aren't. Josh Messer played in this program back when I was here. He was a year younger than I was, but we played together, and we went and played for a state title in 1998 together. We lost against Great Bend in the 5A state championship out in Salina, actually. So, we were at Dean Evans and had a chance to win it all. Just as a team, did not play well that one game. laid an egg really one game, and it cost us what we felt like we were the best team in 5A. So we've lived with that, since we were 17, 18 years old. And then here we are, my dad was our coach. My dad loved Josh Messer. And so he comes back and is an assistant for me. And then last year we get back to, the state tournament. And that was a group, by the way. His son was a senior. He had coached those boys, a lot of them, that senior class, since they were 8 or 9 years old.
Nice.
His son actually pitched the championship game for us. Like, you almost, like, if it was if it was fiction, you almost wouldn't believe kind of the way it all came back together. That ride we took together, again, his son and that group that he had coached for so long being a big part of it. And of course, him coaching them for so long was a huge part of the success that we had. He had really, helped shape and build them into a great baseball group. And so, yeah, it has been incredibly special. And I'm so thrilled that even though his son, graduated, he still is coming back, and hopefully we do it together for a long time, because it's awesome.
You mentioned your dad coaching and, the field named after your dad, and but how much, what was it like, I guess, just growing up through that program as a kid, and then especially once you arrived in high school?
Yeah, well, I was 10 years old when they created the baseball program here at Fort Scott High School. My dad was the first coach. I remember it really vividly. I mean, I was the bat boy for those teams. I wasn't able to come to practice every day necessarily, but I was at all the games. Just kind of had inside access, to all the speeches he gave them, and just kind of how he ran things. And so, I really feel like, and my brothers too, one of my brothers at that time would have been 8 and the other one was 7. We all were kind of in the same boat, just, grew up in the program, looked forward to playing in it. All of us played in it. All of my cousins played for my dad also. So it was awesome. And then to be able, I never set out to come back here necessarily, and coach at this school, but I'm so grateful to God that things have worked out the way they have, because it's been such a blessing. So that makes it all the more special, right? Like this, yeah. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else, honestly. And I love doing it here. And again, just not only Coach Mess, but there's a lot of guys out there who have, personal ties to the program and love it and follow it. And that makes it really cool too.
Josh Regan joining us here, head coach of the Fort Scott baseball team. You mentioned all the success that, your dad had, and the culture that you guys have built up there at Fort Scott. How nice was it to get that state title, after, kind of eluding you, like you mentioned, when you were a player and had so many opportunities just with the success of your program, but to finally go get that state championship had to feel really good.
100%. I mean, I don't know that I can even put it into words, honestly. You chase something for so long, and I watched my dad chase it for so long, and we got so close when I was a senior and didn't get it. And it's one of my major regrets in life, was that we did not get him that state title that I know he deserved. And all of my friends on that team, we talk about that all the time. It's just, it was heartbreaking. And then, again, I've been here. This will be my 15th year, and that's been the goal since day one. And so you work and work and work, and kind of go after this thing that almost seems like, it's a dream, and it's like, it's hard to explain. It's like you can't even reach out and touch it. It almost seems, I don't want to say unattainable, but it takes so much to win a state championship. People don't understand. Yes, you got to have a great team. Yes, you got to have talent. You've got to have great leadership. You've got to have great chemistry. You've got to play your best at the right time when it comes, regionals and the state tournament. And again, my team was living proof. You play one bad game and it's over. And then you also have to catch some breaks. And I tell people, I've taken teams out there before that I believe were the best in 4A. We were the best team, and we didn't win it because maybe we didn't play our very best at the right time. Or there were some little breaks that didn't go our way. I mean, little things within the game that, one ball bounces differently, right? Or gets through a hole, or, one play is made or whatever, and the entire thing is completely different. So you have to catch breaks. And that's why baseball in some ways is a stupid game. It's maddening, but it's also why it's beautiful and we all love it. It's not always the best team that wins. It's the team that plays the best. And again, that catches some breaks.
How much of a baseball town is Fort Scott? I mean, because you talk about Fort Scott High School, you guys have, success in multiple athletic departments, but like with the LaRoche baseball complex and just and the community college, but like how much of a baseball town is Fort Scott?
I feel like it's, baseball is a huge part of our community. There's, everyone's a baseball fan here. Of course, the LaRoche brothers coming through Fort Scott did a ton for that. But even before that, my uncle Dave LaRoche, Adam and Jeff and Andy are all my cousins. But my uncle Dave played in the major leagues, for I think it was 11 or 12 years,
Wow.
was a really pitcher. And so, he would come back here in the off season. And so people started to follow him too, and there was a whole lot of pride in terms of, we had a major leaguer, that was from our town. So, and past that, fast pitch softball was a huge thing here in Fort Scott for a long time, back when, I was really little, and that was kind of tied to baseball. It's just, baseball and softball have always been a big part of the fabric of our community. And I think, with the success that our softball team has had, which is a ton. They won a state title. I think it was in, I'm going to get in trouble, but I believe 05. I wasn't living here at the time, so I'm not exactly sure. But the softball programs had a ton of success, have had some incredible players come through. And so people are really proud of that. And then, like I said, on the baseball side too, I think we get a ton of support. And of course, you mentioned our facility has kind of taken things to the next level. A lot of people come here and play in the summer, and I know teams like coming in here and playing at our stadium. That's really been a huge asset too. So we're so grateful to Adam LaRoche for the gift he gave us in that facility, because again, I feel like it's kind of taken things to the next level.
What was it like? Were you around in the early stages when they were like putting that together, even like planning out that complex? Like, what was your thought process? Like, what are they doing? Like that'd been pretty cool.
Well, I was there the night that Adam drew it up on a bar napkin. His first ideas of what it would be. Adam's, my best friend. We spend a lot of time together. And he was actually an assistant coach for me for 5 years, back 2017 to 2020, those years. So, we started talking about, because, we had a ballpark here that was kind of shared amongst, rec groups and our high school. And so we struggled to keep it up and make it playable. It just kind of felt sometimes like we didn't have a home. And so he wanted, he started thinking about, man, it would be awesome if we could, develop something where the high school program has its own home. And so I'll never forget, he started to draw it up. And he's incredible in terms of, Adam just has this gift of creativity, I guess. He kind of took all the best aspects of ballparks, especially like in his time in the minor leagues and stuff, all the best ballparks that he had been at, his favorite kind of characteristics of them, and then tried to make it into a field that would be high school level, but also college level, and maybe even at some point, have, semi-pro or minor league teams come and play in it or whatever. So, I feel like he did an excellent job of setting up like the fan experience. The stadium seating, and just the whole layout of it, and the lines of sight. It's really well done. And then Dick Robertson was a guy that coached him in the summertime and had developed a company that builds baseball parks. So he brought Dick in. That was one of his main things, was I want Dick Robertson to build this field. And so Dick came in, and we started, they started again developing it and having an architect draw everything out. So I was there from the very beginning and then watched all the construction of it. It was, I'll never forget it. It was just really, really neat. And when people started to hear about it, they got so excited, because, it was just kind of like, hey, we're going to have this incredible stadium.
That's awesome. Hey, Coach, appreciate the insight, and best of luck as the season gets closer.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, man. If I may, there's one thing that I'd like to kind of talk about, which I just feel on my heart. I need to share this, and things that people don't necessarily understand or see. So like I said, we chased that state tournament, or that state championship, since I was a little boy, since I was 10 years old. And it was always just this dream, right? And then once we got close to it, and on that last day of the state championship or the state tournament, that last game, it's almost surreal. I got to go back and watch it just to kind of remember all the, the things that happened. But I'll never forget, the people need to keep in mind two things, really. First of all, the destination, like the title itself, and I think young coaches should understand this. I wish somebody would have told me this. The title itself, right, is unbelievably, it's such a special experience. It's unbelievably euphoric, right, when it happens. And it is worth all the work and everything you put into it and all of that. But the kids and the relationships are what make it so special. I mean, what my greatest memories of that whole celebration when the game ended and everybody dogpiled and taking pictures afterwards and everything were just the joy of the kids and what, how much they had put into it, how much they loved each other, what they had sacrificed together. That's what made it so meaningful and so beautiful. So, the journey and the kids themselves. And I think back not only last year, but the 13 years before that, all the kids that had bought in and worked so hard and made all the sacrifices we asked for and had such a great experience. And, I think I thought of all of them, like while we were celebrating, because it's just, they're part of this too. Right. And then I'll say like that euphoria was probably the next morning was when it really sunk in. And I was really emotional because again, just the, history of it and everything else.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it probably lasted about, 36, 48 hours, I'd say. Just that, you're on cloud nine, but then at some point it becomes like, okay, what's for dinner? I mean, you go like life continues, right?
Yeah.
You're not just going to stay in that moment forever. And the beauty of it is you start all over again and you start with another group and go try to chase another one. But my point is I felt, and I'm being honest with you, about 3 or 4 days after that, there was this emptiness that was in my heart and my soul. Just like if you pin all your hopes and dreams on an accomplishment or some goal that you have in this life, you accomplish it. And then I'm just telling you on some level, I would never trade it because of what it meant to everybody. And I'm so proud of it, but it's completely unfulfilling in the, like at the highest level, or in an eternal way. And I'll just be honest because I'm honest about my faith. God and Jesus Christ are the only thing that will really fill your heart. And I mean, fill it in a way that is, that's lasting, that's meaningful, and that, gives you purpose or gives us our identity. Sort of, if you pin all your hopes and dreams and your identity and your purpose on an accomplishment in this life, whether you get it or not, you're going to be disappointed. So, I just want people to understand that the work we do as baseball coaches is so much more than helping kids become better baseball players. And again, whenever it is that I retire, those are the relationships with kids and the experiences and the memories we have together are the things that I'm going to look back on that are going to give it the most meaning and matter the most. So thank you for allowing me to say that.
Well put. Well said. Coach, thanks for the time.
You bet. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for all you do for Kansas baseball and all of our kids.
That is Josh Regan, the head coach of the Fort Scott baseball team. We'll have more of the show right after this.